Hey man, how you doing?
What up? What up? What up?
Good to see you.
See you as well. Trying to
Yeah,
put my
right.
head where that light is, so I don't.
Right.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to get some. There we go. All right. So how you been?
Fucking so busy, man. So busy. Yeah, just like I was telling you earlier, just go. I need to get some food and after this and just chill out, man. It's kind of like a business owner that's like, oh, I'm busier than I've ever been, and I'm making all this money, but they're like, I never see my family, and I'm stressed out, and I'm not sleeping that well, and I'm not eating that well, blah blah blah. And it's just like,
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
know how you feel. That's how I've been for the last year. The struggle is real. Kobe, welcome, buddy. Kobe's one of my buddies from the stream.
what's up, guys? MJ Fitness, what up, dog? So yeah, we got a full agenda tonight, so let's get right into it. Let's start by talking about shopping for snare drums. So I know this is something we somehow haven't talked about up until now. What up, Tony? So what is your recommendation if somebody's like, oh, I need a new snare. I don't know what to get.
Sure. So that's a good question. The first thing I would say is learn the difference between metal snare drums and wooden snare drums. They're going to give different tones and different sounds, and those different tones and sounds are going to suit different styles of music. And that brings me to the second point, which is to say that one snare drum does not fit all. You know, um, there's not going to be one snare sound that's perfect for all kinds of music. If I'm playing super heavy metal, I'm going to use a different kind of snare than if I'm playing country. You know,
Mhm.
and that's just because of the different styles need different types of things out of their drums. The snare drum in a metal track has got to cut through what will likely be very, very dense guitars. So it needs to be really bright. It needs to have some overtones, and it needs to have a lot of attack. So you're probably going to want a metal snare. You're probably going to want it to be tuned pretty tight, and that way it can cut through. On the other side of the spectrum, in country, for example, you probably want a lower tuned snare. You might go wood. You might go something with a little more warmth, a little more low end. You probably will tune it down quite a bit. You might muffle it a lot, so you don't want a lot of overtones. And pop might be somewhere in the middle. But really, basically, all I would say is learn the genre, learn the difference between the different materials snares are made out of, and make your decision based on that information.
That's good shit. I would add to that, definitely echo the right wood for the job. But the right material. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I had a snare drum that couldn't accommodate the music, but I'm sure it does happen if you have a really loud, um, really metal snare, like literally metal, like a brass snare drum or something like that. It might be
Yeah.
hard to warm that up. Metal snare drum may be the same. You might have to tune it way down. I'm a big fan of like the middle, like wood blends. Like I think it's Kapoor is a really good material, and then I'm using copper, and I feel like the tuning range of those materials are really wide. So you can actually achieve, like, you could tune it way up and play it for funk or metal or whatever, and you can tune it way down, play it for country or R&B. I guess R&B. I guess you'd still want like a high tuning, but like in the studio, if you want to have like one snare drum that is super versatile, like maybe keep that in mind. Or if you're like, I'm only ever going to play um, Slipknot covers on my Instagram, and that's all my channel's ever going to have, then you're not going to need a fucking wood snare drum with, tuning versatility. You're just going to need a metal snare drum that sounds like Joey Jordison's or
Right.
Max Wein or Jay Weinberg or whatever. So, but yeah, I would also add on to that choose drum companies with good return policies.
Yeah.
Do you use Sweetwater? Who do you use primarily?
Yes. Yes. I use Sweetwater a lot.
Okay. I literally I tried those Meinl cymbal tuners,
Right.
which I wasn't a big fan of. Sorry, but I wasn't.
I'd be
Um,
curious about those. What did you not like about them? I've not used them myself, but I was thinking about getting some.
so there's two options. There's thick black magnets and thin black magnets,
Right.
and both of them choke off the cymbal. And I mean, I'm talking about like a 22-inch, um, dry, but extremely washy ride cymbal. And I put the cymbal tuners on it, and it was just like, it was just so choked off. It was like putting a
Right.
studio ring. It was like taping a studio ring onto it. Even with the small magnets, it was just way too. So I'm like a 22-inch washy cymbal. It over dampens it. Then if I put this on a crash or something, it's not going to be. But Sweetwater, I actually dented one of the cymbal tuners, and I still sent it back to them because I dented it. I mean, that's another thing. You're going to hit it while you're playing,
Sure.
and they're
Yeah.
not really that. They're kind of soft, so they're gonna like dent or whatever. Um, but I've never had Sweetwater deny a return. They actually gave me a refund on something because it would cost more to ship back than it was to just keep it.
Refund you? Yeah.
Yeah, because they would have to send me a shipping label for the same. It was like a $10 item or something like that. So,
Right.
but have you worked with any other companies that have had good return policies for drums and stuff like that?
I've really, when we're talking about online, I've really only worked with Amazon and Sweetwater, and I've had good experiences with both. I've never returned anything to Sweetwater, like I've never had to, because I've just never had to. I've returned
Okay.
stuff to Amazon. I buy a lot of stuff through Amazon, not just drum stuff, but just various things. Um, and I've had a lot of good return experiences with them. I know there's some nightmare stores that people have really bad experiences, but I've always had good experiences with Amazon. But local stores, I've got a local store that I've dealt with since I was 12 and a half years old. And that's another one I've always had good experiences with. But it's a little easier to get, I guess, high quality service when you're like in person talking to people.
You're face to face, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I've 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 had nightmare return experiences for other items like computer stuff and returning stuff to Comcast, but drum and music equipment, I've never had a bad experience.
Well, I mean, especially now. I mean, I mean, I don't think saying no to somebody's refund or return is really in your best interest with COVID going on.
Yeah,
I think
for
maybe
sure.
even be a little bit more
Yeah.
accommodating. So, let's talk about your new drum set. So
Yes.
that's coming in. You've waited what, like a couple months for this?
Dude, I ordered it the first week of August. And
Oh
it's
wow,
actually
okay.
coming in early. They were telling me it was going to be first or second week of November. And now it's going to be in a couple of days. It would have been in
Awesome.
last week, but I was a little bit late getting it paid for. So I could already have it right now. I mean, they got it like a month early, which sounds crazy. I mean, if 4 months is an early creation, but you got to
Hmm.
think what I ordered was a custom collector series from DW, which means that, and I know you know this, but just for some of the chat that doesn't know this, the collector series drum set is a drum set, guys, that they build from scratch for you. So like you don't pick like from a picture on a screen and choose, hey, I want this drum set. You instead give them specifications. I want the depth of the drums to be X, and I want the width to be Y, and I want the wood to be made out of this, and I want the grain orientation of the wood to be this, this, and this, and I want
Completely
the
custom, yeah.
hardware to be a specific color. So it even down to the threads, how many threads are on each individual lug,
Oh
even
my
down to
God.
that level. It's completely custom for the user. So they have to quite literally build it completely from scratch. So that's the reason it takes so long. On the other hand, the bright side is that you end up getting, one of the highest quality drum sets money can buy. I'll never need to upgrade for the rest of my life because there isn't really anything to upgrade from. I mean, this has got
Gotcha.
the best materials. It's made with the highest quality construction, mechanics and things like that. So I'm super hyped for it, guys. I'm gonna be posting tons of pictures. I'll be doing some YouTube videos on it, review stuff, and it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be 10-inch rack tom, 12-inch rack tom, 14-inch floor, 16-inch floor, and then two 22-inch kicks, and then a 23-inch gong drum that I'll have to the left of my snare, and then also a 14-inch snare. So it's a decently standard in terms of shell sizes and things like that, but I'm really, really excited. Spent a bunch of money on it, been saving for it for 6 years now. I've been putting money back for it. So I'm really, really, really hyped. I can't wait to show it to you. It's going to be nice.
Are you gonna do like a full unboxing video?
Yeah. So yes, I am. And in addition to that, I've got, people have been asking me to do like a room tour on my YouTube or my Instagram for a
Oh
while,
yeah,
like
yeah.
a studio tour or whatever. So I'm going to do that because in order for me to set this drum set up, it's hard for me to explain. I'd have to show you like my room, my studio. But in order to get the drum set set up, I'm going to have to take the entire studio apart from scratch and like rebuild it. So it's going to take probably 2 weeks. So what I'm going to do,
some time lapse videos too.
exactly, that's what I was about to say. I'm going to do some time lapse of me taking it apart, showing all the terrible cable management that there is, putting it back together. You know, when I first put it together, I first put this studio together 7-8 years ago, and the cable management was great. You know, but over time, you add in new mics, you add in new computer parts, you add in a different keyboard. And at some point, the cable management just goes to hell, you know.
Dude,
so,
I hate my current studio. I mean, I like the room. I like the location. It's 24 hours. Obviously, my stuff is safe and all that stuff. The lighting sucks. The aesthetic sucks. It's just like one of those converted things. So, like, I'm so envious of you to be able to, like, control every aspect of your studio, where the studio foam is, where, like, how you light it, how you paint it, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's really good to also blow it up every once in a while and just start from scratch. You know, relabel all your cables and stuff like that. I got a question: which drum heads does the custom kit come with? Does that come with those clear with the coated things on the top? The standard DW
so it's going to be
heads?
coming. I can't remember the exact name of that brand. I mean, I know it's a DW, but model, excuse me, is what I meant. But it's going to be clear heads, and they're going to have like the coated, I guess, target kind of thing around the perimeter of the head. And I'm really excited for that because I've been using exclusively coated heads for about 5 years now. And I'm really interested to hear kind of how the clear heads reflect on stream when I'm streaming on Twitch. Because I've really been trying to get some more, I've really been trying to get my toms to cut through like original songs, you know? Because like if I'm streaming on Twitch, people will request any kind of music. Sometimes it's classic rock, sometimes it's heavy metal, sometimes it's blues, etc. And so I need a tom sound that is capable of cutting through every single, you know, potential guitar sound without being overpowering. And with the coated heads, I've not really been able to achieve that. I think it'll be easier to achieve with the clear heads.
I really like I hate to say this because I'm not really a huge DW fan, but that's a different conversation. I mean, they make fine drums and everything. But I'm actually kind of a fan of those hybrid heads. They actually don't sound that bad. They don't sound that bad. I mean, and you can't really get, I don't think you can really buy them. You can't really buy hybrid heads like that aside from the stock ones that come on DW kits. Like I know Remo doesn't make like a clear head with like a coated stripe on it. Like maybe I think Aquarian might, but they're not that hard to, or they're not that easy to find.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to try them because a lot of people don't realize how big of an impact the head makes, that your choice of head. It's a big deal.
Oh my gosh. It makes a huge, I mean, you want to put that to the test, put a clear head on your snare drum.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I mean, you got a lot of people that use clear heads on their snare drum and it sounds amazing. Like Stan Bicknell uses one, the Remo Black Dot, which I think is an Emperor head. It's like an Emperor X Black Dot or whatever. Drum Coach Samadhi from Drum Tracks uses a clear head. I like the coated clears in my performance kit. Yeah, that's my buddy Ty. Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. The hybrid heads are actually really nice. And actually, while my DW acrylic kit just came with, I think, stock, I guess they're Remo heads or something, but they were great too. I mean, sometimes you just get lucky with trying new heads. And I know you use coated heads. So my last question about your drum set is, what are you going to do with your old one? Are you just going to put that in storage, or what's that going to look like?
That's a good question, and I've thought about it, and I've not come up with a great answer yet. So my current kit is a Pearl Vision series that I love. I've played on it every single day for 12 and a half years now. I mean, it's just It's been all over the place. I've spilled stuff on it. I've dropped it. It's just a great experience, long-term drum kit. And I'm super emotionally attached to it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that drum set is a person to me, and I would die for it, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
I love this drum kit. I mean,
I know exactly what you mean.
When you spend multiple hours every single day for over a decade, with a specific item, you kind of almost give a personality in your head to that item,
Well, how much, don't answer this as a rhetorical question. Have you spent more time with your drums or with your wife?
It's not.
Don't answer.
It's not close. It's not even close.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Not close. And that's not a joke. That's not a joke. I've been with that drum set for twice as long as I've been with my wife. But
I told you not to answer it. This is going on YouTube, man. I'll have to cut this out. I'll have to edit it.
Delete my file.
you're gonna get your balls cut off,
I
dog.
know, man. I know. But and I don't have room in my I've got two little storage closets in my studio, and they're full of of cases that I use when I go out and play live, and broken cymbals that I'm saving for writing subscribers' names on. And then the other closet is full of spare drums, different snare drums that I swap out for various, drum sessions, and
Right.
hardware that I'm not using but might use in the future. I've got microphones in there. I've got all kinds of stuff. So I'd have to probably put it in my garage, which I don't want to do because my garage, of course, is not climate controlled. It's super humid, so I don't want to do that. So what I might end up doing, I don't know. I might take it to my dad's house. My dad's got an extra room. I might could store it in. I got to put it somewhere safe.
Well, so you're not going to sell it? Too much sentimental value?
Never. I love it. I would sell. I'd sell my left arm before I sold that drum set.
Gotcha. You'd be like the Winter Soldier. You get a new arm.
That's right. Get a mechanical arm and use it to play the hi-hat at 400 BPM.
So Lincoln Log Drum says play a clear head on the snare, but he uses a slightly thicker head as a snare reso, which I think is what you do as well. Don't you use a opaque head for your resonant head?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of that. What I'm currently doing is I'm using an ebony head on the snare side, and then I'm using a coated on the batter head. But what I tried the other day is I got a regular metal snare drum that not my standard normal snare that I normally use, and I put a regular snare head on the batter, so just a regular coated 14-inch standard Remo Weather King snare head. Yep. And on the resonant side, I took a regular 14-inch clear tom head, okay, just to see what it would sound like. So it's got a snare head on the top and a tom head on the bottom. And let me tell you, that was the worst idea I've ever had. It sounded so bad.
I was like, are you going to say it sounds good? Because it sounds like a terrible idea from the get-go. You need really bad. The thinnest bottom for snare response. You need the thin head. Yeah.
And I just wanted to hear what it would sound like because, I've never seen anyone do that. And I can tell you the reason why no one's ever done that is because it's bad. Don't do it. It sounds bad.
Oh yeah. Never use a thick head on the bottom of your snare. So I want to talk about sound slice. So I did we talk about sound slice a lot, but this is more of like a transcription lessons learned thing. So on my page, I have a transcription from J. Rod Sullivan, Jared Sullivan, and you should definitely check him out if you have not. Go follow his page. He's an absolute beast. And I transcribed his playthrough of a remix for Ain't No Sunshine. This was probably a couple of years ago when I worked for Artom. I was doing transcriptions for them once a week. And this was one of the first ones that I did, a full transcription. That shit took me 8 hours to transcribe.
Jeez.
It was like a 3-minute video, but 3 minutes of somebody if you want to transcribe somebody like Eric Moore, can you imagine even
you've done that before, right?
I did a minute one or something. I didn't do this was a 3.5 minute video or something like that. I mean, it was a full track, so it had the drum solos in the middle or whatever, and then it had little tags like verse, chorus, or whatever. But I gotta say, this one went so much smoother, and I just wanted to talk about a couple things that I learned. First of all, writing drum music is like riding a bike. Writing music is like writing and riding. If you want to remember the comparison, but this one everything went so much smoother, and I think it's because you train your ear. So I'm just going to keep it short. If you have a drummer that you really like, take 4 bars of whatever they play and try to write it out. Maybe you take 4 of bars of Travis Barker played something and he went nuts, but the beginning of it, you're like, I think I kind of know, then take 4 bars and do that. And if you do that on a regular basis, you will hear drummers like Thomas Pridgeon and Eric Moore and J-Rod, and you're going to hear drummers like, what is that little kid's name? He was on Zildjian Live, the guy with the thick, long hair. He plays with, God dang it, what is his name? He always wears overalls. He's 15.
Yeah, I've not heard of that.
You haven't heard of this guy? He plays with it's JD Beck.
JD Beck. Okay.
JD Beck. Yeah, you got to check him out. But I mean, he'll play stuff that's just nuts. I mean, you can't even discern it. So, I'm really finding that on some of these more advanced patterns, and just one thing that I focused on was in like isolating one part. So like there was one like measure where he was playing this cowbell thing, and I could not hear what it was. I slowed it down. I tried to like get really close to the screen and look at it, couldn't figure it out. So I just listened for just one limb. So I listened, maybe I'll make all 16th note rest, and then I'm like, okay, he hit the bass drum on beat 3. So I'll notate that.
That's a good, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And then he hit the cowbell on the and of 2, and I know that. So it's kind of like I don't know most of the measure, but I do know like where these little hits are. And then I have all the rest lined up, and I have these like 3 notes, and then I'm just kind of filling it in until the whole bar is complete. So that's another like thing that I learned was, you don't have to like nail the transcription. You just have to nail, like, I know there's 3 kick drum hits, and one of them is on beat 2, and one of them is on beat 3, and one of them is on the and of 4. Okay, well, you got, 5% of the whole measure done now. I mean, because you got those kick drum hits, and then you know what he does on the hi-hat. He hits the 16th note, and then he change. Okay, so you don't have to know the whole thing. So that's just something I wanted to talk about a little bit. Like, if you don't write it out, then you just have that wow factor. You have no idea how to apply it to your own playing. You have no idea how to. There's no comprehension. It's just entertainment. And I think a lot of these guys that play really well, they can give us more than just entertainment. They can teach us something, and then we can actually do it.
Yeah, and that's what I would like to see more of. But it's a lot of work to transcribe, and I think that turns a lot of people off. But it shouldn't, because if your goal is to get better, you're eventually going to have to tackle those kinds of mountains in your playing.
Absolutely.
The longer you put it off, the longer it takes you to achieve your goal. If your goal is to be a high-level player, then you need to have a high-level understanding of advanced playing. And the best way to get that high-level understanding is to be able to transcribe it, because you can't transcribe it unless you understand it. So once you get to the point where you can transcribe it, then now you know that you understand it.
Exactly.
It's just that it's like learning a language, and learning a language is hard. It's time consuming, and it wears your brain out. It's exhausting. And so I think a lot of people are naturally averse to like confusing or mentally challenging work and effort. And so they kind of put it off and just think, well, I'll just go practice for 5 more hours. And that's good. Practicing is great. But if you're not ever like understanding it on a deep level, then you're limiting how far you can actually go, and you're limiting how long it will take you to get there.
Absolutely. I will say to anyone that is watching this live now, or anybody who happens to watch it later on my YouTube channel, that I will give you 15 minutes, no strings attached, no charge, no nothing, for a live transcription. If you want to go over Zoom, or you want to just talk to me or whatever, like, I'll throw it out there, because I'm super passionate about transcribing, and I feel like it's definitely a missing piece for a lot of people. People are intimidated. They need like a way to work into it or something. So if you want to consider it like a free lesson or something like that, I'm up for the challenge. Especially like, hey, there's this nuts drum solo. Can we just jump on a Zoom and see how much we can get through? I'll probably end up transcribing the whole thing. If I start a transcription, I'm probably not going to just stop. But I mean, maybe there's one section where it's like, I've always wondered what this dude played in this one thing. I'll jump on and go through the process. And you know what? Sometimes you mess it up. Like I'll look back at other transcriptions and be like, I don't think that's correct. Or maybe this is like kind of what they did. But transcribing is, if perfection is the goal, then you should just not do it. Because I don't consider any of my transcriptions to be 100% accurate. I'll take a B- and be happy with it.
Yeah. And that sounds a little inaccurate, but if you guys really think about the things that he's talking about transcribing drum solos that have, 16th note triplets at, 220 BPM, like absurd things where there's 300 notes in a 60-second period, where the hands are moving fast enough that the frame rate can't capture every single stroke. So getting like 95% accuracy on something like that means that you're getting, 280 out of 300 strokes perfect. And most importantly, you're capturing exactly what the drummer's doing. So that's what it really matters. If one ghost note is 1/16th note in the measure off, that doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
Because there's no one grading you, right?
That's what I was going to say too. No one has ever messaged me and been like, hey, I think measure 33 is incorrect. Or I think that, I don't put stickings on there for a reason, because that's a whole nother level.
Oh God.
My buddy Tony Robinson is actually, I can't believe he doesn't have a bigger following, but he's amazing. And he'll put all the stickings in there, but he'll transcribe like Mike Mitchell and shit like that. And it's just nuts. But I think once you get to the point where people that are on the highest level of drumming aren't as intimidating anymore, then you can start to learn from them. I feel like, again, it's not an entertainment factor. It's not because sometimes, like when I watched the J-Rob video, I was like, dude, I quit. Like it's so, he drums so clean. And then I transcribed it and I'm like, I think I feel a little bit better now because I like pulled back the curtain.
When I first started watching Thomas Lang, I felt like that about his stuff.
Yeah.
Because Thomas Lang does, for those of you that don't know, Thomas Lang does a lot of like independent stuff where he'll play in like 4 different time signatures at the same time, just stuff that makes no sense, that you watch and you can't understand. But then I started watching some of his videos where he actually explains what he's doing, and once you can understand what he's doing, you can go back and you can watch it from a different perspective, and it starts to make more sense. And when it starts to make more sense, it's less intimidating, and you can kind of start to practice it and get a little bit better at it. And the analogy that I always use is like if you and I sat down at a football stadium and we started watching a football game from the bleed seats, and we can see all the players and we can watch and see what they're doing, and they're running complicated plays, but we're not going to understand that because you and I are not football experts.
Right.
They're running flea flickers and Hail Marys, and they're sending the wheel route and then the receivers out on the slant and all these things, and that's not going to make sense to me. It's not going to make sense to you. But if you go and you talk to Bill Belichick, he has seeing it with the exact same eyes. He's looking at the exact same players and the exact same plays, but it looks completely different to him because he does understand it,
Yep.
So even though we're not witnessing anything different, our understanding changes our perspective, which changes our ability to perceive, and we can gather more information from it, And the same
So in this example, are you Bill Belichick?
No. I understand.
You're like, I'm the coach of the Super Bowl winning team.
Right. Yeah, I understand football about 1% as well as Bill Belichick's.
But yeah, if you can get to sit down with a defensive coach or a quarterback coach or whatever, I don't watch sports ball, but if you can get some FaceTime with those people, I mean, they're gonna definitely shine some light on what exactly is going on. Where it looks, I think that's a great example. I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know what just happened. I know the other team scored and everybody's going crazy, and it didn't look like they were really favored to score in this situation, but they did. And, if somebody else with a deeper understanding is like, wow, that was a really amazing play, and they can analyze it and break it down. So I think that we're talking about understanding versus comprehension. I think we've touched on this before, but I think that's a general concept for musicians. I know we got a couple of guitarists on here and stuff as well. So using that as a framework for other musicians too. Like you can transcribe guitar, you can study guitarists, or you can be entertained by them the same way as we can be entertained and study drummers. So you had some stuff on. We got a couple minutes left. You had some stuff on your Gong Drum. So
yes,
maybe tell the audience what the Gong Drums are.
Yeah. So I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and we just hadn't come up. So a Gong Drum, guys, is think of a kick drum, but you're playing it up, with your hands. So it's parallel to the floor, right? And the one I'm getting is 23. Excuse me, is 23 inches in diameter. And it sounds like a kick drum when you hit it with your hand. It sounds like a kick drum with a little bit more boom, like a little bit more resonance. It's just kind of a little bit slower decaying kick drum. And so what you can do—
It doesn't have a bottom head, right?
Usually it does not. It does not. Well, most of them are actual, like they're really thin, so there really is just a top head. Now, some of them have some depth to them, but yeah, they usually don't have a bottom head. And they sound like a kick drum, and you can use them to play the kick drum part with your left hand, which sounds super arbitrary and not that amazing, but it really starts to make sense when you start assigning roles to your limbs and thinking of them as individual units. Okay, so like if you're a right-handed drummer and you think of your left hand's playing the snare drum, but it's not just playing the snare drum. Your left hand is playing the backbeat. So I would say your left hand is the backbeat unit. Your kick drum foot, which is probably your right foot if you're a right-handed drummer, is kind of doing all the accents. So that's kind of your accent limb. But what if you moved that around? What if you made your left hand your accent limb and you made your right foot your backbeat limb, So now your foot is playing the snare drum parts and your left hand is playing the kick drum parts. You can't do that unless you have the right instruments, and the Gong Drum facilitates that. And
Mm-hmm.
it allows you to do different things because your hands and your feet excel in different areas. It's a lot easier to play dynamically with your hands, you know?
Yeah.
It just is, just because of the nature of the fine motor muscles in your wrist and your fingers versus the fine motor muscles in your toes and in your ankle. You have more control
Can I
over
jump in
your
and ask a
hands.
question?
What's up?
As far as tuning goes, when you have a gong drum, are you trying to differentiate the tone from the kick? Because
Yes.
you're gonna have two bass drums too, right?
Yeah. Not. So it doesn't need to sound drastically different. I still want it to sound like a kick drum. I don't want it to sound like a floor tom.
Okay.
But it needs to be different enough that it doesn't just sound like another kick. Like I don't want, like I'd like my right kick and my left kick to sound as close to the same as possible. I don't
Okay.
want my gong drum to also sound as close as possible. Like it'll be a kick drum sound. It'll have more sustain and it'll probably be tuned a little bit lower, honestly, because it's 23 inches versus the kick drums, which are 22 inches.
Okay.
So
Cool.
it'll differentiate in that way.
That's
And
very cool.
having it on the left side will allow me to, play. You see my two hi-hat setup, where I have a hi-hat with my right foot and my left foot.
Mm-hmm.
So I could do different stuff with my feet with the hi-hats and still have a kick drum part going with my left hand. And then I could do the backbeat with my right hand, So now I can
I
do.
want to see a breakdown video of that shit because it sounds amazing. When you said play snare patterns with your feet,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that sounds wild to me.
It's going to be
Because
cool. This is
I don't
a
know what
concept
your hands are going to be doing at that point.
it's going to take some practice, right? Because I haven't. This is not a concept. I've only been brainstorming this. I've not practiced it yet because I don't have a gong drum yet. But it's certainly going to be something I'm going to work on and put a lot of effort into it. And like I've been thinking since I was like 14 of reversing the roles of your limbs. Having your hands play the feet part and your feet play the hands part. But it's a little prohibitively restrictive because you don't have snare drums on your feet, or at least most drummers don't.
Right.
So that's what the first thing I'm gonna work on. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. If I can ever get this studio taken apart and put back together again.
You will. One suggestion on that. I know you have a. I actually might just send you mine because you hooked me up. I want to let everybody know how nice of a guy Nick is, because Nick sent me kind of an expensive cymbal that had a very small crack in it, and I have a guy that repairs cymbals that I talk about probably on this podcast a lot, but it didn't really cost me that much to have it fixed. And this cymbal is fucking amazing. It's a 22-inch Classics Custom Dark Crash Ride. And I would have never bought it on my own because I've spent quite a lot on cymbals in the last year and I'm kind of wanted to be done. But I got to say, this thing is absolute beast. So I think I'm just going to send you a gift. And it's going to
do that, man. But that's
no, I want to because you brought this up before. It's an auxiliary percussion mount. So it actually has a metal bar that you can mount whatever you want onto it. And since your new kit is coming and you're going to want to play the hands on the feet and the feet on the hands and all that kind of stuff, this will enable you to mount a snare drum onto the bar as opposed to jerry rigging something up. You can just mount, like if you have a little firecracker snare, or if you have the Meinl timbali snare, remember that from a suitcase kit last week?
Yeah.
That has a mount on it and it has snares on or off. So you might be able to, well, I mean, any snare drum would do, but I think that would also work better for your ribbon crasher thing that you have on your foot pedal that you said always slides down or whatever.
Always, dude. Always.
This will be rock solid. So I'll send that to you. But yeah, I want to see a breakdown video of all that shit. And you have 3 cameras, so you can do the multiple camera angles or whatever. But that sounds like some Thomas Lang shit. It sounds like you're moving up to that level.
I draw a lot of inspiration from him because he's my favorite player. So definitely, a lot of my ideas come from shooting off of his ideas. So yeah, very inspired by Thomas for sure.
You need to get some octobans then as well. I don't know if
Dude, I thought about it. I almost added some octobans to this order on this drum kit. I had the money for it. I thought about it, and then I figured that I didn't want to copy him completely.
Oh yeah, you're just trying to be like Thomas Lang. Like somebody sees your setup and they're like,
exactly.
"Oh,
I didn't want to literally copy his kit because I don't want to rip off of a guy. Like he's inspired me, but I don't want him to inspire me and then also me to copy him at the same time.
That makes sense. I think the thing I want to wrap up with tonight is it's some lessons learned on posting, and I know you have some input on this as well because you've been taking some time off and just kind of reevaluating. And I did the same thing a couple months ago. But just a couple of tips. If you're going to post Instagram or you want to make videos or whatever, like we've talked about that. And I don't know Brett was in here. I'm not sure if he's still in here or not. A couple of things that have been working for me, and knock on wood that they're going to continue to work, but they've been working lately, is hashtags in the comments, posting at the same time every day. And for a while, I was posting at noon Central Time, and I was getting shit engagement. I thought people would be on their lunch break and stuff like that. But it turns out that between 6 and 8 p.m., I get the highest level of engagement. That was all trial and error, but I just started posting at night, and it started working way better. And then my buddy Cameron, who lives in Austin, suggested shooting everything in portrait versus landscape, because you actually show more real estate, and Instagram will give you up to 1920 by 1920. Actually, I just posted a video that was, I didn't know this, but you could go 1920 by 1920. So you can do that in your video export or whatever. So just a few different things. Make sure that you put the hashtags in the comments. Make sure you choose the time to post. And then also make the video as high as possible. Like lighting doesn't matter, in my opinion. The video quality doesn't matter. I would dare even say the content, actual theme of the content doesn't even matter. It's just about those three things for me personally.
Right.
And then the other thing is trying to post as much as possible. So I feel like the algorithm is very much more conducive to giving you more views, more visibility if you're posting like every other day consistently,
right?
And you're not taking a lot of time off. So just again, the shit's probably going to backfire. Instagram's probably listening to my voice, and it's going to penalize me or something now. Oh, you figured it out, so we got to change it up again or whatever. But I feel like, look at my page. My last two videos have gotten like 10,000 views between them. So I mean, like something is going right, and I'm just going to continue riding the train until it doesn't work, and I'll try something else. But that is my 2 cents on posting.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's nothing else to say. I mean, that's really all there is to it. You got to be consistent. You got to use the right hashtags. You got to produce stuff that people want to watch, and you just got to stick with it and not get discouraged even when it doesn't do well. Because I tell you, my posts are super polarizing. I think, and polarizing in terms of number of views. Like I'll have like a 2-week period where I average like 300 views per post, which is so discouraging.
Same.
And then the next week I'll average 1,000 to 2,000 views for like a full 7 or 8 days, and then it'll go back. And I don't understand it because the content stays the same. I'm still releasing the same type of stuff. I don't understand it. I'm sure there are people that do understand it, and I wish that I could meet them and talk to them.
Well, I think that you just summed it up. Yeah, I don't think you're going to understand it. I think that you have to be resilient enough to just keep on going back to the drawing board and not get discouraged. That's the long and short.
For sure. So yeah, that makes sense to me. I think that's all we got for this week.
Cool. Well, next week we will be back, same bat time, same bat channel, and you might have your new drum set at that time, right?
I should, assuming it arrives with
4 days.
I should. It won't be set up by then because, like I said, I got to take everything apart. But I will.
At least you can show us like a tom or something. You show us the finish. You can brag on the, whatever your favorite thing is. Hey, I just took it out of the box, like it, whatever, something like that would be cool.
I'm beaming with excitement. I cannot wait.
Dude, I'm excited for you.
All right. We'll be back, guys. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central Time. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday night, and we'll see you guys in the next stream.